recording in progress. It tells you so you don't accidentally or
Was that under recording?
Yes.
What?
Okay, friends. I'm sorry about this, but I'm trying to figure out best angle. There you go. That works good. Uh this is gonna be a long one because there's problems. Wait.
Doug Wilson. Ooh. Is this my card?
Yes, that's your card.
Are you sure?
Yeah, don't show it on camera so they don't steal all $5 we have
All
in the
$5?
bank account.
Maybe 10.
Maybe 10. Okay. When someone tells you who they are,
Believe 'em.
but you need to believe them. I heard that, I think, from my husband a long time ago. If they tell you that they are using Christianity as a way to gain power, you need to believe them. Okay? So, uh, I've known of Doug Wilson for a long time. He is a partial preterist, and I think I have a video somewhere in here about it, so we can, you can look it up, and we can do a video on that if you're interested on what that means and what is all that about. Here's the deal. He knows a lot about the Bible, and he's a well-educated, smart man that knows how to use the Bible to further his own agenda. Okay. And he's very dangerous because he has a large following of men that believe everything he says, hook, line, and sinker. They are devotees of him. Okay. He has, and as he's grown in popularity, he's grown in wealth and things like that. Now, the canon press used to be under the church. Okay, but it's no longer is not that's not anymore. And if you dig into it, you'll find out all kinds of stuff. I'm not That's part of the problem, but he he's dangerous. But how dangerous is he? Well, let him tell you that himself. Recently, the Young Turks are not in my bingo card for video watching on an everyday basis. I normally, listen to the Bible on an audiobook. I listen to audiobooks. I listen to really interesting podcasts and stuff like that, or I watch certain videos about theology, not so much so that I can do what they do, rather to educate myself, and so that I can give you the best educated commentary on some of the biblical things that I talk about. Okay, what you don't see behind the scenes, so to speak, is all the reading and studying and talking with my husband on ideas back and forth, arguing, disagreeing, all of that. Okay, so the Young Turks not in my radar, but I'm glad I watched this because Doug Wilson has the ability to twist things that sound really good. Now the interview is an hour and a half, and we're not going to go through the entire thing because he talks about the issue of slavery and stuff like that. And there's a couple other people out there that, if you're curious about, are much better at it. I would say you should look for anything that Carmen Joy Imes talks about when she talks about slavery. She will give you some excellent background on that. But so the concern is with Christian nationalists. Now, this is not something that I hear any of my favorite theologians talk about, but it's something that we really should be, as Christians especially, we should be concerned about because we we are not called to walk away from politics. Rather, we're supposed to change the world by being Christians through politics, through everything government. Okay. Ideally, you'd have a Christian person that is a true Christian everywhere in government, because a true Christian does not understand the value of human beings regardless of their religion, their race, their sexuality. They understand that all people are made in the image of God, and that there are certain intrinsic values that we hold that are true for everybody in the world. The value of life, the the ability to let other people have a certain agency in their own person, a certain level of equality, etc. Okay, so Christian nationalism is not that. And I'm gonna play the video where he starts talking about it, and we're gonna interact with it, because Christian nationalism is not Christianity. Christian nationalists
Socialist.
is socialism.
Yeah.
Disguised as Christianity. And you know what? At the end, I'm gonna give you my last thought, and it's not gonna be mine, but it's gonna be from the Bible directly. And what would Paul think? Paul, I'm really enjoying, like, side note, okay, real quick. I've been writing out the book of Galatians, and I'm really enjoying Paul right now. I think he's been misunderstood so much, but Paul would have some choice words for Doug Wilson. Okay, now let's bring up the video. I did some bookmarks here on my own, so let me share my screen. You know, this is a high-tech, technologically advanced uh, um, enterprise. Okay, so what I want to do, let me stop sharing for a second and share one more time, because I want to make sure that you can actually hear. Share the sound. Background and share the sound. Thanks for being patient. Okay. So, let's go. It's minute 39:32. And let's start right there. Okay. Let's full screen.
Back to religion. So okay, since I am not a Christian, in a Christian, if you got your way and we have Christian nationalism, do I have the same rights as you?
The answer should be an automatically resounding yes. But instead, you get wishy-washy. Listen.
There would be, yes, you'd have the same rights, but you wouldn't have the same privileges. So, for example, I mentioned earlier the ideal republic 500 years down the road. In a biblical.
Now, he qualifies it. This is what everybody does when they don't want you to think about something that could happen soon. Okay? He says 5 years down the road. That is not what he's aiming for. Okay? Don't kid yourself. Christian nationalists want this done quick and fast. They are not thinking 500 years down the road, and neither is he. What they do is what my husband calls they kick the can down the road, imaginary, so you can sit and be comfortable in your own self and say, oh well, we don't have to worry about it. They're thinking long term, further down the road. This is how they lull people into a false sense of security. Okay.
Republic that was explicitly Christian, there would be religious tests for office holders. Right. So if you came to America in 1800,
religious tests for office holders, thus creating an elite. And I am going to tell you the the most dangerous part of that, there are a significant amount of people that call themselves the Christians. They have the Bible memorized. They know the Bible backwards and forwards. They know all the right things to say in order to fool everybody else. Okay? They know what to tell you. That does knowing, memorizing the Bible, knowing what verses to quote and stuff like that does not make you a Christian. Okay? Only Jesus can make you a Christian, friend. Only Jesus can do that. So, and then he's right here. He's going to go back to his favorite thing. Quote all history. But we have progressed from that. I mean, think about the 1800s. The 1800s had slavery, friends. There were very little human rights. Okay, so in his imagination, we go back to the 1800s, and that is his example. Okay,
and you were living in South Carolina, you wouldn't, as a Muslim, or as an atheist, actually, you wouldn't be allowed to hold public office. You couldn't be elected to the legislature, but you'd be allowed to live there.
Yeah. So you get that doesn't sound like America?
No, it sounds very much like America was.
where are we now? We are not there now. Was that America great? In certain ways, right? But we're not there anymore. And again, these Christians are not genuine about their faith. A lot of them. You can, like I said, he says, "Oh, you'd have to have a pass a test." What test? What are we talking about?
A loyalty test.
Yeah. And so that creates an elite and an ability for people to lie.
Okay. So, all right. So you
at the
acknowledge
founding,
we'd be going backwards, but that's okay. You're conservative and you're Christian national, so you want to go backwards to some degree. Do you get that doesn't make me feel that great? Okay, well, I mean, we're going to let you exist, but I mean, obviously you can't be in a position of power because you're not Christian.
And there's the rub. What Christian nationalism wants to do is put the power of the state in a few privileged hands. Once that's there, once the power is in some privileged hands, they get to decide your future. Okay. Obviously, we have, as Christians, personally as a Christian, I have a lot of different opinions regarding homosexuality, abortion, how to raise your children, certain things that we do, everyday life things, and we can be different. We can have a different of opinions, but my job is to tell you about Jesus and to tell you about his loving kindness and who he is, and for you to know about him, and then he's the one that's gonna have to turn you around in his have to turn you around towards him. This is nothing to do with Jesus, friends. Has nothing to do with the Lord Jesus Christ. This is all men grabbing for power. And if we want to look back, let's talk about the Crusades. Okay? It was all done in the name of God and Jesus. And it was terrible. So this is nothing but a very secular grab for power disguised as Christianity.
You would have equal rights in that you would have the right to fair trial, the right of habeas corpus, the right to free speech, the right to keep and bear arms. But basically, if you have a Christian society,
so you have all those rights until the entire power goes into the hands of those that call themselves Christians, and then you can decide slowly but surely. Wait, maybe I don't want you to practice your religion. maybe I don't want you to have an opinion other than mine. Maybe I will redefine what habeas corpus means, or I can redefine everything. They do it all the time. The Democrats redefined, what was that they redefined the inflation?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
it was, big terms get
We
rid
were
of
in a recession, so they changed the definition.
terms get redefined all the time. And if you're in charge and you don't think that certain people that practice certain religions or have certain ideas are worth the same or are in the same level as you are, then it's a lot easier to remove any rights that you want to remove. Okay?
And if the Constitution acknowledged the truth of Christianity, if the Constitution acknowledged that Jesus rose from the dead, then of course that you're going to want to protect that. But I believe, honestly, that people who were religious minorities, Jews, Muslims, who are here in the smaller numbers that would make this possible would be treated, certainly should be treated with equity and fairness. Yes.
But not
But see,
equality. Because they wouldn't get to run for office. They wouldn't get to participate in democracy in that way. They could be ruled, but they could not be part of the ruling class. Only Christians.
Correct. So,
Okay. Think about it. What does that remind you? Kings and queens, they get to rule. And let me tell you one basic thing about human nature. Okay? Absolute power corrupts absolutely every single time. Now, you want me to believe that these people are so godly that they won't be corrupted by power? I beg to differ. Okay?
if I moved to Saudi Arabia, I wouldn't expect to be allowed to do anything in terms of governance.
Yeah, see, that's a great point, because that's why I didn't move to Saudi Arabia, even though our family was Muslim. We moved to America, right? Because so you don't want to turn us. But now I'm beginning to wonder: do you want to turn us into a Christian Saudi Arabia?
No, not at all.
It seemed like you were arguing for that, though, because you're saying, yeah, you wouldn't be equal in Saudi Arabia because it's a Muslim state, and I hate that. I want you to be equal everywhere, right?
Right.
But you're saying, we would make America into a place where, like in Saudi Arabia, non-Christians would not be equal.
This goes back to a point made by Aristotle, which
okay, and that is what he does every time that he is put against the wall. He confuses the issue, turns it around, tells you how smart he is, how well read he is, so that you think, oh, he's quoting Aristotle. He's quoting Aristotle, he's quoting the Bible, so he must know what he's talking about. That is the dangerous part of it all. He knows so much that he knows how to twist it to make it what he wants it to be. Okay? Anyways.
is that there's a difference between behavior that democracies like and behavior that preserves democracies. All right? There are certain worldviews.
There is, let me see. We passed that. Now, I want to talk, there is another section of this that I want to show you and share with you. This is a very divisive issue in the church. The Christian nationalists believe that women are the same but not the same. Okay? Women are to be subservient to men. They should be, listen to their husbands, not have their own personal opinion. If their ideal is for you to be pregnant at home with a bunch of children, barefoot and pregnant, and you just do whatever your husband wants you to do. unfortunately, friends, you women have a whole gamut of things that they like to do. Okay, we are different. We're the same in equal value to God. Okay, we're both children of God. And if you start with that simple principle, then there is not a whole lot that a woman can do that a man can do, excluding the obvious physical abilities. Okay, now they don't believe that. They believe that a woman is a couple things. One of them is weak in more ways than one. They believe that the woman is easily deceived, that they were gullible. There's a lot of things that they take in the Bible. The Bible tells you about patriarchy and how God brought about the Jesus Christ through um, the patriarchal system of society that was in place in history. But just because it's in the Bible and just because God shows you this thing does not mean that God means for it to be that way all the time for history ever and ever. It's just showing you that even though we fight and push forward and disagree with God, God will bring about his plans regardless. Okay? So let's go to minute. Let me bring that one out again. And this is on he's talking about actually I'm glad this guy brought it up. It's talking about spanking and I want you to start. Okay, that is one hill I will die on, friends. Okay, no spanking for children. Period. If you are incapable of discipline your child without bodily punishment, you failed as a parent. Okay, you failed. If every time that little kid steps out of line, especially a toddler, and all you can come up with is spank him, you have failed. All right. And you're already on you. So correct your ways, friends. Correct your ways. So let me go ahead and bring this one up again. And let's do this. So let me bring it here where I can see it.
Okay, we've discussed that. So, I'm not asking if women should be equal because men and women are biologically different, and so equal is too vague a word. So let me ask more specifically: should women have equal rights to men?
Yes, if you're talking about women should have the right to a fair trial, the right to keep it.
There's the caveat again. There's the caveat again, right? No, but and again, in a Christian nationalist world, women are relegated to the level of those that do not agree with their Christian idea, their idea of Christianity. Okay, the man of the Christian, this man get to be the elites, and anyone that doesn't necessarily hold to the Christian values or the Christian, their version of Christian faith, is relegated to the bottom rung of the ladder, and so are women. You hear that? It's the same as the rest. He tells them, "Oh yeah, well they're equal and they have some value because but not really." He still like I said at the beginning, when someone tells you who they are, you need to believe them.
And bear arms, the right to free speech, the right habeas corpus. All women should have all the same rights at that level that men do. Yes.
Okay. Do they have a right to say no?
Did you hear that? He says, as long as my husband says, as long as the dishes are done and he has a sandwich. And that's about right. That's about right. What they would say. Okay. I got to tell you, my husband is a very tolerant man. There are days the dishes are not done and I'm late at putting the sandwich on the table. Okay, let's go on.
To their husband sexually?
Yes. If the question is, Do I believe that marital rape is okay? No, it's not okay. Not at all.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
There are people out there lying about me.
Okay. I've read a couple things here and there about this, something about submission and stuff like that. Always, if you're ever in a discussion with anybody, you need to ask them what is their definition of rape. Okay? He says, no, I don't agree with rape. Can you tell me what you think of rape is? Because, and don't quote me on this, and if you find different, let me know. But there has been occasions where I've read that he, in his books, he talks about a wife giving it to her husband, whether she feels like it or not.
Well, hold on. Look.
Okay, wait.
Yeah, make that cream bigger there for a minute. Okay, I'm gonna sneak in over here. And that's kind of a touchy subject when you're married, because me and my wife been married for a very, very long time. And I can guarantee you there were times when my wife wanted it and I really wasn't in the mood, but I did it anyway. I mean, so that whole definition of rape thing is,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Get some definitions because
right.
okay, there is there.
I mean,
Okay,
I'm
no,
sure it
no,
goes the other way,
but
too.
look,
Yeah.
if you are not in the mood, but then you can convince someone to be in the mood, and then you both end up having fun at the end.
Yeah.
That there's no rape there, obviously, right?
Mhm.
You just everybody that, but she's not in the mood. She definitely says she's not in the mood, and I just don't want to do it.
Well,
And
then that's a no.
that's a hard no. Say like I'm not today. Okay, whatever. So there's definitions, and so that's why I said ask them to define what they mean by that. Okay, let's go back. See, there's a lot of nuance on everything.
Those are not yes and no things.
Yeah, nuance.
Because you can look at that one way and say, well, that's rape, right?
No, we always both ended up having fun. Anyways, moving
on that point, but that's that. So I'm glad. Thanks for the opportunity to say no. Marital rape is bad.
Okay, now I read, and so we have you on here, so that's why we get to ask you and have this conversation, that you were okay with spousal spanking, abuse. There's different words that you could put.
That's kinky.
if you're into that. Okay. Although I want you to listen to him. In no way does he say here in this interview does he approve of a husband hurting his wife in any way, shape, or form, or bodily disciplining his wife in any way, shape, or form. Okay? Now, listen, his words he's going to tell you.
To it,
no.
Yes or no?
Absolutely not.
So no,
absolutely not.
Like not allowed to hit your wife at all.
Not allowed to hit your wife. So as a pastor, if I had a parishioner who slugged his wife, hit his wife, or tried to spank his wife, or was applying corporal punishment to his wife, call the cops, call the pastor.
Okay. I read about this. I never heard of this before. Blanket theory, where there's apparently a phenomenon. I don't think you guys preach it, but I'm curious whether you agree with it or not. Because there's some question as to whether you guys do. Right. And again, that's why we have you on here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so that if a baby walks away from a blanket, you spank it, and corporal punishment to train the baby. Are you in favor of that or no?
No.
No.
So I do believe that toddlers, little kids, need to be disciplined and corrected and so forth. But I've never heard of this blanket theory that.
Listen to that. You can't have both. If it's not okay to beat your wife, it is not okay to beat your children. Okay? If it's not okay to use corporal punishment with your wife, why would it be okay to use corporal punishment with your child? Okay? And we'll get into this here in a second because he says something else that is beyond ridiculous.
You're talking about.
Okay.
But let's say I do believe that if a toddler is told to take his nap and he gets up, I don't have any objection to godly, loving corporal punishment for.
There's no such thing. Godly, loving corporal punishment is not a thing. It doesn't exist. Where is the only interaction that we have in our Bibles where Jesus interacted with children? They were being loud, obnoxious, they were being troublesome and stuff like that. What did the apostles do? They wanted them to be rebuked. What did Jesus do? He gathered them into their lap and loved on them. You don't need to go any further. That is your example right there of how you're supposed to behave with your children. Okay? And if it's not okay to hit your wife, spank your wife, bodily abuse your wife, it is not okay to bodily abuse your children. It is the exact same punishment.
Call the cops. Call the pastor.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And toddlers are learning. We could go into this whole thing, but toddlers are learning behaviors. Okay, they're learning to have self-control in and of themselves. They will never learn true self-control if all you do is provide pain when you want them to do something. Are you hungry? Am I doing? Do you want your sandwich now?
No, I had a sandwich last week. I'm good.
We'll finish this and we'll eat.
You love bacon laying around.
Okay, so we feel very strongly about it. Why? Because we've raised 4 children. We did not need to spank, hit, or do anything like that. But what that required was a lot of personal attention to your child. A lot. Okay? So.
Sensible infractions that are sensibly applied, household rules. But it's sort of I also believe that dictatorial parents who can mistreat their kids that way and are just awful that way. It'd be terrible.
Okay, so I've always wondered about that because I'm not in favor of corporal punishment. But where's the line for you?
I don't know this guy, but I'm already in respect him more than Doug Wilson.
So, you can hit your kid. How much can you hit your kid?
Pay really close attention, friends. If you're one for corporal punishment, okay, if you're the one that spanks your kid when they make you mad, have you ever had enough self-control to do anything like that? To what he's about to say.
Fair.
Yeah.
If you've, I watch Doug Wilson extensively. I follow Canon Press. And years ago, he sat down for an interview and he sounded like an absolute lunatic. Because what he's saying now is not what he was saying then. Then about 2 years ago, he had another, I think it was Martha Radow or something, and he came off looking like a nut job again. If you pay attention to this guy, he's learning. He's pushing the same nonsense message, but he's wording it different to try to make it more palatable. But let me tell you something I can tell you for right now, okay? If you go to a church and they do chapter and verse, all right, you're not getting the message of the Bible, all right? And it's just like when he explains things, he'll bring in other sources. No, the material stands on its own. What was said, just because this sounds like that, doesn't mean they're talking about the same thing. You have to be really careful, and you have to read the Bible yourself, and you have to go over it and over it to get the message. You cannot get the message of the Bible on chapter and verse. Now, I'll risk something right now that will irritate lots and lots and lots of people. Somebody show me without using chapter and verse and saying it's inferred, where they're talking about the Holy Trinity as one person, because it's not. Why would Jesus pray to his Father if he is his Father? Makes no sense. Why would he say, I'm fixing to go and I will send someone more powerful than me, the Holy Spirit? Okay. There's so many verses in there that tells you that this is not one person. But show me in the Bible. I mean, I had a preacher one time tell me, he goes, well, that's the one thing we all agree on. And I'm like, great, we all agree on the one thing that's not in the Bible.
Yeah. So caution. Okay.
Right.
You do your own study, because he, and really so do we, have an agenda. But our agenda is, can you please look it up yourself
Thank you.
and do your own homework? Please, 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 please. Okay. This person, please listen to it.
What I teach people is that it should sting, but not damage.
He teaches that.
So you're going to need people to use good judgment on sting, but not damage.
Yeah, correct.
You see how sometimes people might not have good judgment on that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's a.
And he still teaches it. And here's the thing: when someone is doing something wrong, okay, he says, I teach it if you, and then people might not use judgment. So then you completely eliminate it, because the variables are too much. And most people, when they're angry, will aim towards real pain. Okay? No one is ever clear-headed enough when they spank their children to measure the amount of pain they're inflicting. And also, it is not biblical. It is not. Paul, we'll get to the end. The two things that I want to share with you, I'll tell you here in a minute. I'm almost there.
And when that happens, when parents abuse their children or overdo it with corporal punishment and they beat up their kids, there are few things in the world that are sadder than that. And Jesus said that if you stumble one of these little ones, it'd be better for a millstone.
You hit somebody. You hit your child. Do you think that that brings love or hatred from your child? And then, what do you think that's doing? When you hit your child, you're making your child sin, because all you're getting back is hatred from the child. Just saying.
Be tied around your neck and you thrown in the depths of the sea. It's awful to abuse a kid.
Okay, so should a woman listen to her husband inside a marriage?
Inside of marriage?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna leave that one for another day, because I think I already got a good long one. But do yourself a favor. The beauty of the internet right now, of the YouTube channels, is that you have content creators that in interviewing these people, and they let them have an hour and a half to 2 hours to express their opinions, to say what they believe. Pay attention. Watch the interviews of the person you're trying to follow, because they will tell you who they are. I can't. If you agree, well, that's on you. If you disagree, then pay attention. Okay. Now, I want to share two pieces of scripture. Okay. Let me go this way with you regarding these matters. In the book of Galatians, Paul says, there is neither Greek nor Jew, there's neither slave nor free, there is neither male nor female, for all of you are one in Christ. Christian nationalism will have you reverse everything that Paul taught, where we're no longer separate as human beings, rather, we all belong to Jesus. We can agree to disagree. We can have different ways that we come around to Jesus, but we all belong to Him. And creating subclasses of human beings never works out well for anybody in history. Now, I will tell you one more thing. Paul tells you a lot about children, obey your parents, because that comes with a promise of, the first promise in the Bible. But here's another one.
Parents, don't irritate your
Yeah,
children.
he says that, I always say irritate, but the actual quote is, it says, where is the thing? I'm sorry, but it says, do not provoke your children to anger. It's the command of Paul. What is the one thing that will make a child angrier? But corporal punishment. Friends, you have the power to read the Bible, understand the Bible, study the Bible. You have a computer, you have an internet connection, you are privileged already, and you can do all of this. There's a lot of information out there. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to Doug Wilson or anything like that. You can do your own research. Now, if you don't want to, that's a whole other different thing. But no one can force anybody to be a Christian. Okay? The only way you
Doug Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. The only way that you can become a Christian is through Jesus Christ. Okay, He's the only one that can say, yes, you were one of my servants, or I never knew you. And that's it. Okay, so what am I saying is buyer beware. And I'll say it again. When somebody tells you who they are and what they believe them. All right. Continue studying, continue reading. Beware of Doug Wilson and anyone that follows him. But if you like it, if you think that Doug Wilson is all that in a bag of chips and he is heading in the right direction, I will ask you to reconsider and check your heart with Jesus. He will convict you of the truth. All right? God bless. Enjoy your Sunday. Bye-bye.